Only eating spicy food for a full day. For breakfast, I started off with Samyang fire noodles, which I actually love, but today I decided to be crazy and add da bomb hot sauce from that show Hot Ones. I've only had it once before and I was literally in pain for hours, but I thought it might be better if I mixed it in with the noodles. I don't know. I immediately regretted my decisions. It literally burns. Like there's no other way to describe it. Also, the noodles were really hot temperature-wise, which I think made it worse. I just immediately started coughing and then it was like caught in my throat, and I definitely couldn't finish the whole pot, but I probably finished like half of them. Not fun. Anyway, then for lunch, I went to a hot chicken spot that just opened up across the street, and I got one hot cider and then one extra hot. The hot chicken one actually still had a really nice like savory barbecue flavor and a hint of sweetness. It was pretty spicy though. Then I added some honey to the extra hot, which definitely helped with the heat, but honestly the chicken was the best part. It was so tender and moist. Oh, and I got extra pickles, of course. Anyway, then for dinner, I had to get some chicken vindaloo. The place across the street from me makes it extra hot, and it's definitely spicy, but it goes so well with that garlicky naan. And the naan at this place is so soft and buttery, and the vindaloo is definitely really hot, but it's also so rich and tangy and a little sweet too, just like bursting with flavor. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Only eating at Outback for a full day. First of all, I love that they give you whipped butter. It's so much easier to spread. Also, the bread is always warm and soft, but I think it could be a little sweeter. And I forgot how massive the bloomin' onion was. It was also piping hot and super crispy and crunchy, but the seasoning was just so heavy, like the flavors attack your mouth. It's super garlicky, which I love. It's just a little too salty. Of course, I had to get a steak, and honestly, it was delicious, super tender, and the char was beautiful, but I forgot to record a bite. I'm so sorry. But this mac and cheese was also so good. The elbow macaroni is the perfect texture. It was cheesy and creamy. It also had a nice peppery flavor, and it wasn't too salty. And this sweet potato was one of my favorite things all day. The brown sugar added a really like rich sweetness. It was buttery and tender, just melt in your mouth good. Anyway, then I ordered some takeout and I had a little picnic. This is their new Tasmanian chili, which has these giant chunks of steak in it that are super tender. It's also cheesy and honestly pretty spicy and like rich. And I also tried their loaded baked potato, which was of course delicious because potatoes are incredible. I also tried it with their barbecue sauce that was so sweet and sugary, but still pretty good. And finally, I had their baby back ribs, and literally it just fell off the bone. Tender and juicy and just covered in that tangy barbecue sauce. Super smoky too. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Only eating at Red Lobster for a full day. Obviously, the best part is the Cheddar Bay biscuits. They are so soft and buttery and warm, but they still have like a crust on the outside. Like they are perfection. Okay, and I ordered the lobster pizza because I was just really curious. And honestly, the lobster chunks are huge. Like you get a lot of lobster, which is really sweet. The crust is really thin and crispy, and it's also so cheesy and rich. And I couldn't leave without the brownie overboard. Oh my gosh, the brownie is so warm. It legitimately melts in your mouth, but somehow it still has that delicious crunchy crust. Also, the ice cream is so creamy. Like it's seriously so good. You have to get this. And then for dinner, I ordered the 3-course meal, and I was so excited about these coconut shrimp, and they were honestly like really crispy and fresh, but the pina colada dipping sauce wasn't my favorite. It was just so sweet and sugary. Like they kind of tasted like dessert. And this is the lobster bisque, which was actually really creamy, but it was just so salty. You could only like take a few bites. It was definitely better with the biscuits, really rich, but yeah, just a little bit too much salt for me. And finally, I tried their Cajun chicken Alfredo, which was so cheesy and garlicky, and the noodles weren't overcooked at all. Honestly, it was delicious. Also, the chicken was super tender and like moist. This was actually one of my favorite things. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Only eating snack foods from Thailand for a full day. So I just got an insane amount of snacks from Bus and Snacks, and a lot of them are from Thailand. So for breakfast, I tried some noodles and ketchup chips. I've never had a ketchup chip, and I don't know what I was expecting, but they're not as sweet as I thought. They were really salty and savory and like rich, almost like tomato soup. And I was so excited about these tom yum noodles. They didn't smell shrimpy at all, and wow, they were definitely spicy. They were also really savory and sour, like just so flavorful. Then for lunch, I tried this chunky cookies and cream Kit Kat that was so crunchy, and oh, I love that like milky white chocolate flavor, super sweet and chocolatey, of course. And oh my gosh, these kimchi lays were intense. They were so savory and like sour and actually spicy. I was definitely coughing, but worth it. Then for dinner, I had to try this crunchy chocolate dessert. So you stick it in the microwave and it comes out all liquidy and warm, and it kind of tasted like crunchy hot chocolate, not too sweet and really rich. Oh my gosh, it was so good. I also tried instant pho, pho for the first time, and oh my gosh, I just love the texture of rice noodles. They're so chewy but still tender. And the broth was delicious. It was tangy and honestly pretty spicy. Some of the best instant noodles I've ever had. And finally, I tried these 3-in-1 lays that were butter, corn, cheddar cheese, and caramel flavored. The corn flavor weirdly went really well with the caramel, and they were like cheesy and sweet. And that's all for today. Only eating frozen pizza for a full day. For breakfast, of course, I had to try this croissant pizza, and oh my gosh, it was actually incredible. You guys, the crust is so buttery and soft, but like flaky. It's so thick too, and it's really good with the pepperoni, but I feel like it would be amazing with bacon. Then for lunch, I tried a few different pizzas, and I feel like everyone always hypes up the California Pizza Kitchen ones. Honestly, the barbecue sauce was delicious. It was sweet and sharp, and the chicken is nice and tender, but honestly, the crust is a little too dry. Like, it definitely needed the ranch. And this Screamin' Sicilian packaging totally got to me. I wanted to know what it tasted like, and this was by far the cheesiest pizza of the day. The mozzarella added a really nice creaminess, but that secret sauce was the best part. It's just so rich. Then for a snack, I had some pizza rolls. I'm always so scared that they're going to be way too hot and burn my mouth, but thankfully they weren't this time. I feel like the filling always leaks out, but if you find one that doesn't leak, they're actually pretty good. Not as good as you remember from childhood, but so much better with ranch. And look at this fully stuffed pizza I got for dinner. So it's got one big layer of cheese that goes through the middle of the crust, and look, it was definitely cheesy, but it wasn't that exciting like explosion of cheese that I was hoping for. It had pepperoni, sausage, and salami though, so it was really savory, and that's all for today. Only eating Jamaican food for a full day. I had to start off with jerk chicken and beef patties. You guys, these patties were huge, and the beef filling was so flavorful. Like, the paprika and turmeric really came through. Also, the crust was just so buttery and flaky, but the jerk chicken literally blew me away. It was just so smoky and super spicy, of course, but also so garlicky and moist, and they gave me so much. I was literally stuffed and my mouth was on fire. It also came with rice and peas with mashed sweet potatoes that were insanely sweet, just so sugary, and oh, these fried plantains were super soft and like caramelized. There were just so many different flavors, and it all went so well together. Anyway, then for dinner, I got some curry chicken, and wow, this might have been the most tender chicken I have ever had. It literally fell off of the bone. It was so savory, and she also poured a bunch of the gravy over the rice, so it was literally bursting with flavor, buttery and sweet. And finally, I had to try ackee and saltfish, which I believe is usually eaten for breakfast, but oh my god, it just kind of melts in your mouth, almost like a cheesy, eggy texture, but it's packed with flavor and spice. You literally have to try it, and that's all for today. Only eating desserts for a full day. So I started off with the rest of my cupcakes from Sweet by Holly. This red velvet one was so moist. Also, I'm obsessed with the cream cheese frosting. It's just so rich and sweet. And look at how cute this strawberry one is. I love the sprinkles on top, and the strawberry flavor was delicious, but it was almost too sweet, just like really intensely sugary. This cookies and cream one was definitely my favorite though. The Oreos add a really nice crunch. It was also super light, and the buttercream frosting was perfection. Anyway, then I headed to my parents' house because my mom makes the best chocolate fondue of all time. She uses bittersweet chocolate and heavy cream. It's so rich and not too sweet at all. Also, these strawberries were perfectly ripe, so they were like extra juicy and sugary. And if you've never tried pound cake dipped in chocolate, you have to. Just get one from the grocery store. Trust me, it's delicious. And honestly, I was really sugared out, but I got this massive box of snacks in the mail, so I had to try some for you guys. This chocolate cookie Kit Kat is actually from Australia, and the cookie flavor really comes through. It's super crunchy. And this double chocolate one is actually from Canada. It's kind of gooey in the middle. It's a really interesting texture, but it's super rich. If you love chocolate, you'll definitely like this one. And finally, I had to have some more strawberry mochi ice cream from Trader Joe's. My only complaint is that you have to wait a few minutes for them to thaw, but these are so good. Chewy and soft and sweet and creamy, delicious. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Only eating barbecue for a full day. This weekend, my best friends from college came to visit. This is Michael. He is an amazing cook. So we barbecued by the pool, and he made these amazing burgers and pork shoulder with jerk seasoning. Oh my gosh, it smelled so good. He grilled the buns for a little bit too, so they were really crispy and smoky. Also, the burger was so juicy, and I feel like provolone cheese always adds a really nice sharpness. And this jerk pork was so flavorful. It was spicy and a little sweet, super tender, but still crispy and charred on the outside. I literally could not stop eating it. Then we played by the pool for a little bit and it was time for more food. One of my friends brought this giant skillet mac and cheese, and my favorite part is that thick layer of cheese and breadcrumbs on top. It was also super creamy and buttery, delicious. She also made this Hawaiian butter mochi cake, and I know it's not really barbecue, but it was so good, soft and chewy, sweet, and a little coconutty. And these are my favorite smoked chicken sausages. They've got roasted red peppers and queso fresco inside. They're so juicy and savory, cheesy, and the grilled bun just takes it to the next level. And that's all for today. Only eating Italian food at Disney Springs for a full day. We started off at Pizza Ponte. They have these giant slices of pizza. This one's called the Big Roman. It's huge and the sauce is really tangy and sweet. Also, it's New York style, so the crust is super thin and chewy. I also tried this ortolana slice, which had eggplant, olives, onions, and peppers. It was also so cheesy and the crust was really crispy, but still so soft and thick. Anyway, then we headed to this hidden speakeasy called Enzo's Hideaway. It's such a cool vibe. And I don't know if there's a correct way to eat charcuterie, but this salami picante was actually pretty spicy and it went so well with the buttery fontina cheese. And I love prosciutto. It's so flavorful. I don't know what kind of pepper this was, but it was really sweet. Oh, and we also tried these polpettine, which are braised meatballs, and oh my gosh, they were so juicy and savory, and the whipped ricotta just melted in my mouth. Maybe the best meatballs I've ever had. And you guys, this linguine was my favorite thing I had all day. The pasta was perfectly al dente. The burrata cheese was creamy and the sauce was so buttery. I fully could not stop eating this. It was insane. I also tried this roast chicken polenta, which kind of tastes like cornbread, but it's really creamy, and the chicken was so moist and had a really nice lemony, acidic flavor. And finally, we headed to Maria and Enzo's for some dessert. Of course, I had to get tiramisu. It's just the perfect dessert. Light and soft, sweet, but also a little bitter. It just melts in your mouth. And oh my gosh, this chocolate ganache was so intensely chocolatey. It was super buttery too, and it had this toasted marshmallow meringue that was so creamy, and orange caramel. It was literally a flavor explosion. And that's all for today. Only eating at Whole Foods for a full day. For breakfast, I had to get a pastry. I loved their chocolate croissants as a kid, and now they have these hazelnut ones. Oh my gosh, it was so rich and chocolatey and nutty, super flaky and buttery and not dry at all. Oh, and I found this spicy cheddar popcorn. It definitely had a kick. It was really paprika forward and super cheesy too. Delicious. Oh, and these dark chocolate sea salt caramels were so good. The salty, bittersweet chocolate went so well with that thick caramel. The textures were incredible, and it also wasn't too sweet. Like, definitely try them if you haven't. Also, their hot food section was massive. I heard you have to try the black truffle mac and cheese, and wow, you guys, it was so creamy and rich, and it had that thick layer of cheese and breadcrumbs. Incredible. And I heard these Italian sodas were also really good. This one had passion fruit and mango. It was super tart and fizzy. And look at this zucchini fritter. I put some ketchup on it and it was nice and crispy, really well seasoned, honestly super flavorful. Oh, and these were tofu nuggets. They honestly tasted just like chicken nuggets, nice and chewy with a little crunch. I also tried them with hot sauce, and honestly, that was fire. For dinner, I tried these jalapeno cream cheese bites, and they were 10 times better than pizza rolls. Like, the pastry was crispy and flaky. Of course, I had to try them with chili oil. Obviously, chili oil makes everything better, but I'd never tried it with cream cheese before, and it was so good, like cheesy and spicy and warm. And finally, this 365 ice cream was cheesecake brownie caramel flavored, and oh my gosh, the cheesecake made the ice cream so fluffy and smooth, and the brownie was really chewy and chocolatey. It was kind of flawless. And that's all for today.